got my tables and chairs over here if anybody needs them. Okay, just want to thank everybody for coming today. I'm Deputy Mike Ricker from the Sheriff's Office, and we hold this event starting the last 20-some years. And actually, this is like 52 people here. This is the biggest crowd I've ever got, which is really great. Just go over some topics. In case we have to leave here, hopefully we don't, but in case we do, go down the hall, exit the way you came in. You go up to these doors here, it goes into a yard. There's another door into the fence that leads out to the parking lot. You go up from here, there's another set of doors that leads you out into the side parking lot. Or you go down the hall and go upstairs. Just to let you know that. The restrooms are down the hall and kind of to your left. You have to use them. Got a lot of coffee, donuts, cheese here for everybody. I don't want to take it back. Just want to thank everybody that came. We have people from the Snowmobile Alton unit that is here. We have Lewis, Jefferson, Oswego, Madison, Oneida, St. Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. Did Hamilton County come? No? Okay. We have Webb PD, Boomville PD, Rome PD. No? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. Oneida Nation Police. No? Okay. We have Forest Rangers, Encon Police, New York State Police, New York State Park Police, DMV investigator of Utica, a couple of Lewis County legislators, Lewis County Emergency Management, and some other people that are interested in the sport of safe snowmobile. So I'll just turn it over real quick to Sheriff Carpinelli, then we'll get started.
Well, you heard Mike, everybody that came, and thank you very much. I think that speaks volumes of how our program is run and what people think of it, and how these guys do that. So I thank Mike and Brett and all those involved in this. But thank you all for coming down. Like I said, the cooperation, we have our county legislators here. Everybody comes in, and all the other outside agencies too. It's nice to see everybody get together. Look at, obviously we're having a slow year to start with. My fear is that when that snow comes, it's going to be one of those oh shit weekends. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I guess we can just best be prepared as we are. Continue the cooperation amongst all the agencies that we have, and I thank you all for that. There's a great cooperation that goes on top of this hill up here between the state, the Encon, and the Sheriff's Office. We appreciate that a lot, guys, so thank you. And I guess outside of that, in any politics, it's beautiful to see us all get together, work as a team, and provide for everybody else and learn from each other. And that's why I like this great get-together, because it's a good discussion with all kinds of ideas and different collaborations. So everybody stay safe, have a great year, Merry Christmas, and take care. God bless. All right, guys? Take care. Thanks. Okay, no cheese back and forth.
I want to start with Brittany Davis. And she's going to spend a little further time in economic snowmobile study that was done last winter. How much money people spend here on the Tuckhill Plateau. The Tuckhill Plateau actually runs the western side of Lewis County, so Black River Valley, in Boonville, Oneida County, Rome, part of Oswego, and part of Jarvis. And there were some comments on the survey that was done that kind of reflect the back on the law enforcement part of it. It didn't really cover, it didn't mention all of Lewis County. It mentioned, the whole broad area. So you just got to understand that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brittany Davis. I'm the Executive Director with Lewis County Economic Development, and I want to thank Mike for inviting me here today to present on a snowmobile economic impact study that we conducted with a bunch of partners back in late winter. Just to give some background, we were approached by Chris Skipper at Touring Ridge Riders to do a study, and basically having the hard data of the actual impact the snowmobile industry has on our region was something that we were missing. So we thought it was a great idea to do this study and to be able to use this data and use responses from the respondents to be able to improve the industry as we move forward. So looking at the survey methodology, we brought together these partners at the bottom, so Lewis County Economic Development, the Lewis County Chamber of Commerce, Oswego County Tourism, Operations, contracted with Jefferson Community College to do the data collection, and then that data was handed off to Des Moines 310. They are economic development consultants out of Saratoga Springs in New York, and they then did the full economic impact analysis. So with the survey, we were able to reach over 2,000 respondents. So how we did this is we sat out the survey with all the snowmobile clubs in Jefferson, Lewis, Oswego, and Oneida counties. And if you were to look at this map right here, these are the zip codes that that survey reached. So pretty significant. All over the Northeast, we receive respondents, and these are people that are riding here in Tug Hill. So the survey reached a lot of different people from a lot of different areas. The actual economic impact study was for just the Tug Hill region. And those are the towns that we, that are on the Tug Hill Commission website if you want to take a look at what towns are actually in the region. So high-level survey results, and really I just want to reiterate that I'm presenting on the data that came from this study, and these are not opinions. Okay, this is information that came from the respondents. So the study assessed the non-local users. So there were a lot of people that are from here and ride here that took the survey, but also a lot of people that are not from the area. And the study assessed those non-local users. In other words, these are the visitors who would not be in the Tug Hill region, but for the snowmobile trails. So there are over 35,000 unique users using our trail system. 52% of those riders are the non-local users, so they're not from here. They're coming to the Tug Hill region to ride. And there's a total of 347,000 days spent snowmobiling based on this data. Just a high-level overview of some of the impacts and where these people are spending their money and how they're spending their money. So the study looked at direct, indirect, and induced impacts on the snowmobile industry. So in other words, the direct impacts are the impacts by the snowmobile users. The indirect impacts through the business-to-business spending because of the industry, and the induced impacts as a result from the employee spending. Okay, so if we look at this data, the study showed that a non-local snowmobile user spends $192 per day. That's pretty significant. And these are all the areas where they're spending their money around the industry. There was another question on that survey that asked for household income. Over half of the respondents make over $100,000, and 25% of that make over $150,000. So people are coming here to spend their money, and the people that are coming here have money to spend. So it is a significant impact on our local economy. So additional economic activity. The study, it showed that it resulted in 866 total jobs because of the industry here in the Tug Hill region. Over 28 million in total employee earnings, and over 81 million in total sales. So that is the combined direct, indirect, and induced total sale number from the industry. The study, it really looked at the economic impact to the region and the fiscal impact, so regarding property tax, sales tax, and occupancy tax. We don't really get into that in this presentation, but we do have the full report here if anyone is interested in those numbers. So it really took a full comprehensive look at what those impacts are to our industry, but the really big piece here is that over $81 million in total sales to our region. So aside from the economic impact and that data, we really asked some other questions about, what are the strengths of our industry here, and what are some opportunities for improvement? What can we do better? And these were just some of the highlights that we took from the study. Again, that economic impact is over 81 million in sales. That job creation, there's significant job creation because of the industry. And snowmobiling in Tug Hill is an excellent would we have the industry that we have? So I think that's something that we really need to think about moving forward. If all those volunteers go away someday, what happens to our industry? We really need to think of solutions on how to make the industry sustainable for the future. And it's a family-friendly sport. So that was another thing that they felt was a strength in riding a tugtail. They could bring their kids, they could bring their family, and have a great time. So some opportunities, again, this is directly from the respondents, this is not an opinion from us. Some opportunities that they suggested is that we need to improve landowner relationships. So incentivizing or compensating in some way. I know that this has been a topic of discussion for many years on how can we secure land for more trails and how can we compensate or incentivize our landowners. So again, this is something we need to really think about, but the riders are telling us, yes, this is something that you should really focus on. Additional law enforcement, adding additional police enforcement and strengthening regulations on high-speed and alcohol use. Again, this is just coming from the respondents and something that they would like to see more of. Creating new trails and more trail miles, that goes back to securing more landowners, improving trail maintenance. While many comments recognize that trail grooming has improved, a significant number of respondents indicated a desire for more frequent grooming of trails. That goes back to the volunteer issue. If we don't have volunteers to do these things, how are we going to increase the amount of times that we're grooming? Wayfinding signage. They would like more maps along the trail system. And we asked the question, how are you navigating the way around the trail system? 54% of respondents use trail signs as their primary navigation tool. So we thought maybe like an app or the actual maps they're using, but most people are using signage that's along the trail system. So we need to work to improve that aspect. Creation of a mobile app. 21% say that an app is their preferred navigation tool. So this is something that I don't think we really have at this point. So the county is looking into creating or upgrading our Lewis County app to potentially include the Snowmobile trail system. Social media training is another opportunity. Most respondents are gathering their information about snowmobiling from social media and family and friends. So it's not tourism websites, it's not the New York State Snowmobile website, it's literally social media and word of mouth. So can we work with the snowmobile clubs who have thousands and thousands of followers to educate them on how to better advertise the trail system through their social media outlets. And lastly, streamline marketing efforts. So leveraging the Adirondack Tugtail brand, which is our tourism brand for Lewis County, website and social media for information. Again, people are getting most of their information on social media, so we can leverage these county platforms to help promote the industry a little bit more. So we asked ourselves, what do we aspire to be? Where do we want this industry to go in the future? And we really need to ask ourselves, how can we use this study for future planning? Again, we wanted this data so that we can, go to the powers that be and say, look, the respondents are really asking for these things, so let's try to figure out a solution. What goals can we create based on the data from the study? And are there short and long-term solutions for the issues outlined in this study? So what's next for us? We as the Economic Development Agency in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, we are launching a Snowmobile Industry Action Committee here in Lewis County. And we're really looking to bring people to the table, landowners, law enforcement, county legislature, the county agencies that are involved in the industry, tourism promotion, to really come up with the action items on how to work to make this industry sustainable for the future. So the mission of this action committee is to really build on our industry strengths, create measurable goals and benchmarks based on the data provided in the study, and address age-old issues related to how fragile the trail system really is, based on the fact that it's here because of the volunteers in the Snowmobile Club. So with that said, that is just a brief overview of the study. I do have a couple of full copies here, and I can also email the full study if anyone is interested. But at this time, I would be happy to take any questions, and they can provide a good answer. Any questions? Mike, do you have anything to add? Chris, anything to add?
No?
Okay.
Great job. Well, I said I didn't have anything to say, but I guess I do anyway. So thanks, Mike, and everybody here for inviting me today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Skipper. I'm the current president of the Turn Ridge Riders Snowmobile Club located locally here, and I'm proud to be here today on behalf of not just our snowmobile club, but all the other awesome snowmobile clubs in Lewis County and the surrounding county. It's really an honor and something that I started doing, about 7 or 8 years ago. I was probably one of those people that might have got pulled over by somebody like you at one point, but I've turned the corner, so to say. So again, I'm super appreciative, super thankful for law enforcement. If you ever see me out there riding on the trail, whenever I see somebody running speed or doing whatever you guys do, I always stop and shake a hand and introduce myself. So hopefully I can see some of you out there this year. Brittany presented some of the data from the respondents that we had, and in speaking with our landowners, there is a perception, and I'll leave it at that there could be additional law enforcement out on the snowmobile trails. In our world, in the snowmobile club world, perception is reality, and I'll give you a really good example. We have landowners who are our best supporters, and I'll hear from them that, hey, people are riding all over my fields, they're riding all over the trail, they're off the trails, they're doing this, they're doing that, and to them, that's a reality. I've also reminded some of those landowners, actually, remember last year we fenced your entire trail system in, so that wasn't possible, and sometimes they say, oh yeah, I do remember that. But that perception is a reality. It's not just their land they're concerned about their neighbor's land, they're concerned about their friend's land. So when they see somebody doing something, whether it's in their backyard or a backyard out towards Buffalo or Niagara or wherever they're at, it's a problem for them. We have a great deal of snowmobilers here. As I said, 35-some thousand snowmobilers, and really it's a very minor fraction that is causing the problems that we have to deal with. So with numbers like that, we could use your support to make sure that the problem snowmobilers really aren't around. We don't need them, our businesses don't need them, and our landowners don't need them. So again, I really, really appreciate what you guys do and would appreciate your support moving forward. I guess if I had to, give one piece of advice based purely on what I hear from our landowners, which outside of our volunteers are pretty much our most valuable asset. Without the landowners, without the volunteers, there are no trails. It would be to establish more of a presence as law enforcement. And I don't mean just putting boots on the ground every single day. I know budgets are tight. You guys aren't getting the support that you need at all times from all of your funders, and we're here to help and happy to help with that. But what I mean is just establish a presence, and I got a few different ideas and ways that I'll just share with you, and feel free to spitball or throw stuff at me, whatever you want to do. Visibility on the trail is important, obviously. You guys do that. There's only so much time in the day, only so many resources, only so much overtime available. I get that. Visibility with key landowners is really important. Like I said, without landowners, we don't have a trail system. So get to know your snowmobile clubs, get to know people like myself or Doug, and understand which landowners are the ones that need a little bit more attention. Introduce yourself to those landowners. Make sure that if you're out on their properties, they know it. If you actually happen to write a ticket, follow up with them. Say, hey, you know what? We were out here for 4 hours and we wrote 2 tickets. By the way, we saw 200 snowmobilers. That communicates to them that really maybe it's not a huge problem, it's a very small percentage. So get to know those people and speak to them. Now is a great time to do that before the snow even flies. Visibility in the public is also certainly important, right? Publishing articles, using social media to your advantage, letting people know more than just how many accidents or how many collisions there were, but how many tickets were written, what type of tickets were written, really goes a long way. People see that, especially on social media. If you're able to write a ticket for somebody riding off a trail or riding at a high speed, you really only impact that person and and the group that they're riding with. And that's important. But if you're able to make a social media post about that, and a club like us is able to share it, and we get 20,000 reads a day, you just now impacted 20,000 people that says, wow, these guys are out there. They're making a difference. I'm going to think about that the next time I'm out on the trail. Safety messages online are great. I've seen some awesome resources from and videos from out in the Midwest, particularly Michigan, where they'll do things like set up a cone in the middle of a rather gentle curve or a sharp curve. And they sit there with their video camera on the other side of the curve, and they start writing tickets for people who hit that cone, because it means that they're running their sled out of control. They're just drifting through the corner. Those videos are great. People see that and it resonates with them. Hey, we got to slow down before we enter this corner. And then I think, that you guys, are doing a great job. It's all about making sure that people understand, the job that you're doing. Communicating those metrics. Hey, our goal is to, maybe increase the amount of tickets we're writing that are important to landowners. Registration tickets are important, I get that. People don't register or don't insure. You gotta enforce that. But for landowners, it's loud exhaust, riding off the trail, primarily, riding closed trails. Those are the big three things. So if we're only writing tickets or only communicating to landowners that we're writing for registration, I think we're going to lose their support. And I'm here to tell you, and I think Mike will back me up, and so will our folks with economic development and legislators. If we don't see some changes effective, and it's not all on you, it's on us as snowmobile clubs too, we're not going to have snowmobiling within the next few years. We came dangerously close this year to losing the only connection really between the Old Forge area, which would be the Adirondacks, and the Tug Hill. There's two trails that really connected primarily through Branningham and then through Turin. The other ones are very long and roundabout ways, and if it wouldn't have been for the economic impact study we just went through and convincing legislators to get on board and formation of that committee, we wouldn't have those trails this year. And really, the collapse of those two trails would have probably led to the collapse of snowmobiling in the area, because those are the two heaviest areas. They get the most snow, they get the most cold, they got to connect, and if they don't, we would have big problems. So, any questions or anything, I'm happy to take them, but again, thank you all, and have a wonderful and safe snowmobile season.
Yep. Let's just take a 5-minute break while Nicole gets
for those of you that come every year, nothing new. We're going to go over the 2020-21 accident summary of accident reports that our unit has received. So I want to thank everybody for coming. My name is Nicole Unser. I'm the director of the New York State Snowmobile Unit out of Albany, New York. We have some of our lovely members of our unit that I'd like to introduce. The newest member of the unit is Michelle Dunnigan. She comes to us from the Emergency Management Bureau. She is the 4th member of our snowmobile unit. And I just want to stipulate, we finally have 4 people. We're back up to 3 full-time employees, and now we have a 4th. By law, we are restricted to 3 paid employees. So the agency is actually realized that we needed additional support, and the agency is funding Michelle's position, and we're so thankful to have her. Just prior to Michelle coming on board, we have Patricia LeVay. She is handling, being trained to handle all of the grant aspects from our unit, both law enforcement and snowmobile trail grant. She came on in early September, and she's been like a great benefit to our unit. And then you guys may remember Claire Roblotto. She is another key member of our team who handles all of the safety education and law enforcement questions. Claire's the one who collects and compiles all of the accident summaries, all of the fatality reports, and all of the tickets. So I just want to thank them for coming along today. I also want to introduce Eric Weingriever. He is a member of the Marine Services Bureau. He assists greatly in the law enforcement education and any kind of support that we need, so I want to thank him for coming. We also have from our park police, we have Captain Seeley and Lieutenant Barney. Lieutenant Barney is our liaison, so I want to thank him and Captain Seeley for coming on, because we rely on them in the parks to assist us with things law enforcement I do want to make a few announcements. On the tables, we have a brand new Snowmobiler's guide. Our very old guide has been refurbished and replaced. I want to thank Claire for all the hard work that she did on this. If you are familiar with the Boater's Guide, it is very similar to that. We also have it online as a flip book, so we're kind of excited. And, so the Snowmobiler's Guide kind of coincides along with law enforcement and safety education and just anything you need to know about snowmobiling in New York State. With the economic impact report that you guys did, thank you. It was very interesting to see all those numbers. Last year with the pandemic, I know everyone's aware of the just volume and the enormous increase in the recreation. Our unit fielded a lot of calls from people out of state, people who had never touched any kind of recreational equipment. They were calling us asking, I want to get out snowmobiling, I've never done it, I don't know where to buy them. And we're like, well, we can't help you with where to find them to buy, but we do have, safety education, even though it's ages 10 through 17 where it's required. We did encourage them to go on our website and, get a little bit of knowledge of how to operate prior to going out and just hitting the trails. I can't imagine how law enforcement, the clubs felt. I was a little nervous, with us getting all of those calls about where can I buy a snowmobile, and I have no idea what's going to happen. So with that increased volume, I thank all of you guys for getting us through this year. We'll see that. I was very surprised that the accident count and the fatality count wasn't greater just because there was a greater volume of inexperienced riders. So also, if you guys need boxes or if you guys want any of this information to hand out, on page 49, you can just send an email to the Snowmobile unit at parks.my.gov website or to our email, and we will ship that out to you if you have need. Okay, so I'm just going to make the statement I make it every year. You may have different knowledge of the numbers that we're reporting. These are just numbers that we collect in our office. We don't know why some of them don't reach us, but these are the numbers of the reports that we get. So if there's a discrepancy, we're always looking for ways to improve how we collect the data and how it's presented. I know that Mike kind of mentioned that we're looking to improve the accident report form and make it a little bit friendlier and see how we can make those improvements. We do have a few copies on hand, and it's not something that I want to go over today, but if you guys could look at that accident report if you're not familiar with it, or if you're very familiar with it and you have recommendations, we would like to have further discussion on that. Okay, so in 2020, 2021, there were a total of 159 reported accidents. These involved 190 operators, resulting in 113 injuries and 15 fatalities. So when you're looking at the Lewis County numbers alone, these numbers, while we want them lower, it's really, I thought that they were going to be much, much higher through the increased volume of riders and inexperienced riders out there last year. So you can see the reported accidents was up from last year, but again, the volume of riders was greater. So, with having 15 fatalities, one fatality is one too many, but I do feel like the law enforcement being out there does kind of help with that, along with safety education. So, year after year, the majority of the types of accidents is collisions with fixed objects. So we had 56 reports of fixed objects collisions. Along with that, the leading factor is unsafe speed. So, as Chris was mentioning, they sometimes do reports where people are maybe taking a turn too hot, and they go off the trail. I think a lot of the reports that Claire gets, it says that they the trail and struck a tree, or, that's what a lot of them say. And, so through safety education and law enforcement, I think, with clubs, being out there and making, signing things, I think that we can, keep these numbers where they are or reduce them. Okay, so this isn't where Lewis County wants to be at the top of the thing, but for over 35,000 riders that are hitting the trails and that very huge number of miles that the snowmobiles are covering, the 37 accidents, when you look at it from like a sky view, it's really not that bad. It could have been way worse. And I kind of want to give kudos to law enforcement when you guys are out patrolling the trails. And I know it's a combination of foresters, DEC, parks, Lewis County. It really does take everybody patrolling to keep these numbers down, and we appreciate that. So majority of the collisions happen between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. The lesser was between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., which when I used to ride, I'm kind of surprised that the number is lower, but you'll see that it looks like the riders are out between 12 and 6. Last year. That's when the majority of accidents happen. So this is the age groups that have the number of accidents, and you can see that it's kind of, the older riders, it's much less, but all of the other ones, 12 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60, they're all relatively close. So back to the leading factors of accidents and fatalities. So unsafe speed topped all other leading factors for the 15 fatalities that we had last year. Again, so fatalities by county. We started off early in the season with the first fatality, surprisingly enough, in Albany, and it was on a highway collision with a tractor trailer, which is not something that you would expect. So it was the first fatality that we had. It was very unfortunate. And then we finished out at 15. So Lewis County had 3, Herkimer, Monroe, and St. Lawrence all had 2. So here is the fatal accident details. I'm not going to go down through these. We do have a few copies of this printed report. I actually also, with Mike's invitation to the meeting, I replied to all, so I believe at noontime today, everybody will actually get a copy of both reports that I'm going to share, and it'll also be put up on our webpage, hopefully by next week. So you can see most of them are the factors of unsafe speed and result is collision with a fixed or moving object. So I want to give everyone special thanks for attending. Our email address and our webpage is right down here. We do have a specific tab for law enforcement. It does have some old stuff on there now, but we are working with public information to kind of get that refreshed and get newer stuff out there. As we start to work on law enforcement and engagements and stuff, we'll be putting more useful information up there, and we encourage you guys to use it. Thank you. I'm going to continue on with the grant stuff, which is the dollars that everybody is very. The law enforcement, New York State Snowmobile Law Enforcement Grant and Aid Program is very important. It's a very important program for law enforcement. What a lot of people don't realize is, so New York State offices cannot participate in this law enforcement grant, but for the municipalities who participate in snowmobile law enforcement, when they submit in for this grant, they have an opportunity to regain, like recuperate, up to 75% of their expenditures. So how it works is if you have $50,000 of expenditures, you submit that into our grant program and you can get up to $37,500 back. So the only thing that would prohibit you from earning that $37,500 if you had $50,000 in submissions is this grant program has a $200,000 maximum limit. So when we go over that maximum limit and we take 75% payout amount, we then prorate it down to $200,000, and so you make it a lesser amount, but you're still getting something back. So we do encourage law enforcement officers who are partaking in snowmobile law enforcement to contact us and participate in this grant program. Okay, so last year we had 18 counties who participated in this snowmobile law enforcement state aid program. The total payout was $188,716. It's nice to see like some of these offices that participate are in this room. The top participants, Oswego County Sheriff's Department received $30,420. Oneida County received $27,675.71. Town of Webb received $27,530.90. Lewis County received $19,178. St. Lawrence received $5,461.07. Hamilton County, I know they're not here today, they received $5,122.33. And Town of Inlet Police in Hamilton County received $18,572.03. You know, and this, you know, what you guys do, it's way more than we can ever pay you back, but thank you for participating and giving back a little bit of the money to kind of help, you know, keep your programs surviving and thriving. As everybody's mentioned, law enforcement is kind of key to sport and safety and, you know, keeping the landowners happy, and we really couldn't, you know, it really does take, you know, everyone's participation to keep the sport alive and to keep, you know, keep the programs going. So does anybody have any questions about the law enforcement grant before I move on? Okay. Like I said, everybody's going to get a copy of this report. We do have a few on hand. If you'd like one, just let us know.
Could be writing theirs.
We should have the grant documentation up within the next week or two. Yep. The girls have, so previously we participated, we had Excel spreadsheets, and while they worked, they were very old and kind of unfriendly. So Michelle and Claire have been going through and creating fillable forms on something a little bit more friendly to collect the information instead of, because, you know, I love spreadsheets, but sometimes they're a little bit temperamental. So the girls have been doing a great job in trying to kind of realign those and get them fillable and a little bit more evolved and friendly. New York State Snowmobile Law Enforcement Development School. Every year, Parks hosts a Snowmobile Law Enforcement Development School. It's a week-long course that covers a lot of different things. The program covers basic course content, which is the nomenclature, snowmobile maintenance and operation, registration insurance, laws regulating basic operation, operating while intoxicated. We also have a standardized seated battery field sobriety test. You know, we cover many, many other things. So a lot of it is just basic snowmobile safety, and then the course covers operation and law enforcement component. It's a great course. Eric and Corey both teach the course. You know, we encourage participation. We know that there's a lot of turnaround in agencies, people leaving, retiring, and then, you know, we encourage that you guys sign up. We have a slot of, I believe we have 30 slots this year. Last year we were very limited, we only had 20. This year we're back up to 30 unless something else, you know, happens with COVID and we have to reduce the numbers again. You can email us and we will send you a copy of the application. This year, the winning bid, it goes back to Town of Webb and Old Forge. So, what's that? Oh, you have some here? Claire does have some applications on hand. If you guys would like to grab some, please do. So, the class this year, we show up the evening before. It's January 31st. And the class starts early on Monday morning and it goes through noon on Friday. So I encourage you guys to kind of grab an application, take it back and fill out your applications and send it in. I think that is pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions about the Snowmobile Law Enforcement Development School?
For stage development?
Yeah, right now we do have a few, you know, who were pushed back last year that were on the waiting list pulled forward, but yeah, we do have availability for them. Like I said, we've got 30 slots. I think we've got maybe 5 to 10 that have put in interest already. So, you know, we encourage state police to kind of come forward. Corey's got the park police set. You know, NCON, ABC, you know, we've got slots and we'll work with your training officers to fill those spots. But we encourage the municipalities to attend and put in an application. And if we do reach that 30 participant max, we hold you guys on a first come, first served waiting list for the next year. So that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I covered? Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate everybody.
Some of those safety courses, kids,
The Snowmobile safety course what?
for the kids, it's all going to be whole new block and whole new.
I'm missing your question.
Yeah,
It's the
so,
safety course for the kids, that's.
right, so starting this year, but you guys didn't know, it's going online registration.
We're letting the cat out of the bag of that?
Yeah, no, it's been out of the bag. It's an online registration, and because it came through halfway through the season, I am actually presenting myself as the instructor to put all the information in. Next year, it will all be online, and you guys there'll be training going out after the first year with your instructors. It's just online registration. The course is not online. It's still in person. You're still doing your course. But we're just trying to make it easier on everybody for less phone calls, you know, clean copies of things for people, parent permission slips. It generates a roster for you guys. You just have to print out and it has a waiting list. So if someone drops out, that automatically builds. So you'll get more information after the first year on it.
Right, so anybody who is also, and I know a lot of you are also marine law enforcement instructors, that's going to be implemented much quicker. So for the past year and a half, 2 years, Parks has been working to secure an online registration system for snowmobile safety courses. DEC has the Hunter Education through Calvin Online. I did it very easily for both of my kids, and it was kind of nice. For us, it's going to be nice because we're not going to try to be reading, you know, like we've had parents call us and say my kid's name is spelled on the safety certificate, and we have to reprint it. And a lot of times you're like, what is their address? You know, so that this online registration is going to speed up so much. It's just a lot of people that have heard about this have been calling with concern. Thinking it is an online course, and it's not. This is simply online registration. So for any active instructor now for boating instruction or snowmobile instruction, you're going to get an account through Calcomine. You're going to they'll be creating user accounts. You're going to log in, instead of having to fill out a form and send it into our unit to then schedule the safety course on your behalf or cancel it or make any changes, you are going to be able to schedule it online yourselves. We will be getting a notification that we will look at and approve. You will then receive your safety materials from our office as always, but you're not going to have to collect all of that demographic information from the parents and the kids when they arrive. That's all going to be done ahead of time. So, you know, we're really looking forward to it kind of speeding things up. When you're done, you will score the test, you will put in their test results, you'll get notification, we'll get notification. It's really going to speed up the process, and like I said, it's been a year and a half in the works, and the past 6 months have been kind of working out all the kinks, and we opted to not implement it this year. We wanted to kind of test it out internally to see how it worked, and we've been working through all the glitches. Like I said, like Claire mentioned, she is the one who's serving as the instructor on behalf of the instructor at this point, so that we can, she's been uploading the rosters and everything else. So she's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that when we push this out next fall, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be good. So if anybody has any questions when it does go out, like I said, you're gonna get notification from Marine prior to us because they are implementing theirs. I believe their launch date is February 1st, where instructors will be doing training on this. But we're super excited to have this kind of evolution happen. I think that it's going to speed up the process and make things a lot easier for our unit and for the instructors and the parents as well. Does anybody have any questions about that? No. Mike, did you have anything else before I step off the side of the stage? Okay. You know, we do encourage, you know, safety education really is key. So we're always looking for new instructors. We've lost a lot of instructors. You know, so if anybody does have or want the opportunity to become an instructor, all you have to have is a safety course yourself. And then if you have any kind of training, you only need to assist with one class, and then we can certify you as an instructor. So if you have any questions, reach out to Claire, and she'll be more than happy to help you. So the form, did you want to talk anything about the form? I know that, because I know that's super important to you. Do you want to?
The accident report?
Yeah, the accident report. Do you want to kind of talk to people? Do you want to talk about it?
The Snowmobile accident report, you know, if anybody's ever done over the years, it's hard to fill in information because your little box that you got to put the information in, you can't take it all. So, I mean, some bigger counties have a lot of accidents, some don't. So maybe this winter, maybe before spring, if everybody, each agency can maybe just highlight maybe the area in the action report that needs to be changed. Update it a little bit, make it more friendly to use.
Yeah, so I should probably also make an announcement. So in the past year, our unit we're under a new supervisor. His name is Mark Van Wee. He is the former chief of the park police. He took on a role as a deputy commissioner for public protection. He did want me to apologize. He was supposed to be here today, and then he had last-minute meetings scheduled, so he couldn't attend. But being that he was law enforcement, he's been a great resource for us. You know, we talked to him about the form and the recommendations from Mike about, you know, updating it. So I couldn't be happier because I don't have a law enforcement background. So it's kind of nice when we get questions from Mike or other officers. You know, it's nice to have his, you know, information, you know, along with Lieutenant Barney's, you know, so that we can kind of make things easier, move things forward. So, you know, with this, maybe, you know, like you had said, you sent out a survey, so maybe we'll work with Mike and anyone else who's interested to kind of, you know, set up some kind of, maybe we can push out like a survey across the state and, kind of intake, how this form is gonna be, how we can make changes. And it can't be like a complete overhaul, but, if we could make changes where they're necessary, that would be great. Yes, Chief?
Nicole, I know we've talked about this topic a couple times. I don't see a problem with the accident report per se, but the NISPIN or e-Justice, take your pick, the information that we take for a garden variety motor vehicle accident, we have all the information we need for a motor vehicle accident. For a snowmobile accident, we do not have the criteria that the accident report asks for, which is really kind of antiquated. I mean, years and years ago, we went from paper accident reports to tracks. Tracks and e-Justice speak to one another. In this day and age, for the snowmobile accident report and e-Justice not to match is crazy. So I don't think the problem is so much with the accident report, but it's the intake that e-Justice or the DMV is taking. That needs to match. So I think we're looking at it from the wrong angle here. If we had the information, the accident report is fine. And we can do that in the field. But if we don't have the information, CCs, that kind of stuff, that's not provided when you run the data on a snowmobile.
So you want to click on the box and the box opens up like in tracks? Everything's right
No, I want e-Justice to have the information that we need so we can run a snowmobile data out at the scene and we can go back to the station and do an accident report. Right now, e-Justice does not provide that because DMV does not intake any of that.
Okay, and I believe, did you have the same concerns?
Yes.
Has anyone else kind of thought of this? Does anyone else have these types of issues or sees the benefit of what Chief Johnson is saying? Anyone? You guys?
I would agree, it's also hard to find the insurance information, because they're not able to present that copy to them, like e-Justice does their vehicle.
And this is things that you are confident that could be done out in the field and
I don't see why not. I mean, we're going above and beyond to find out what snowmobile club so they can get the reduced rate at the DMV. I mean, there's things that are way more important here that are not being taken in on that registration sheet. So I don't see a problem on our end. I see the problem on the DMV end.
okay. So I know that I've kind of approached parks and for any deep sea rangers. I know that you guys kind of went into tracks recently in the past year or so, right? Mm-hmm. The tracks program, right? So we had talked to DC about like, hey, you guys are coming in, like we're already in, but we'd like to see some of our recreational, like snowmobile laws and things, and I know that they were trying to. But it's always been like a behind the scenes mechanism where it was always blocked, like they can't do that. Haven't spoken to Van Wee about wanting to implement this or having, been approached previously, from Leviker and you, Chief, we've talked about it. When Trax was implemented, it was built from federal dollars, and they're the ones that kind of revoked the access to add in more than the vehicle and traffic laws. But I think that if we have support from, statewide municipalities and New York State agencies that want this, I'm still not discouraged with not, kind of pursuing this, especially if there's going to be a great benefit. We've got like a 3-part form, and we are trying to evolve and make things a little bit better. Capturing the data needs to be captured. So I'm not against pursuing it again, but we may need support from, just outside of like 1 or 2 agencies. So if that's something that you guys feel would be, beneficial, I'm not against trying to encourage someone to, to kind of lift the restrictions and allow that. So we'll see what we can do. Because we are trying to make progress and we are trying to, to make improvements. So thank you, Chief.
Early notification forms that you don't get sent?
What's that?
Early notification forms that...
Yeah, so Mike already notified us of the first accident of the year. He usually, I don't know if he has his ear to the scanner or not, but he usually is the first one to notify us when there's any kind of an accident I don't believe, I don't believe we received a copy of that accident yet. Right, so, yeah. So a lot of times, so this is just one instance where we don't get, you know, a report of an accident, and I know sometimes it takes like investigation. But what is more concerning to me is the fact that we will hear about a fatality. We'll get notified about a fatality, whether it's through Mike or social media or, you know, park police, and at times we don't get the early notification report where we understand that a fatality report will follow. That's concerning to us because Claire has to track them down through the agency. What we're finding is a lot of the agencies are submitting that report to DMV. So we are going to look for ways to kind of communicate that with law enforcement, that we require that as well. Through regulation, we are the ones that are in charge of tracking fatality notifications, accident reporting, the tickets, and all of that. So, you know, we're looking at ways to kind of communicate that knowledge and the need for those reports. And it's extremely important to what we do and what we have to provide as far as reporting goes. So, if anybody has any recommendations or, you know, or needs, and I think that participating in the Snowmobile Law Enforcement Development School would, you know, may kind of remedy that problem of, you know, being so familiar with submitting the reports to DMV and not knowing that you are required to submit that to parks or unit. I know Mike, I know you know right where to send those reports, Mike. So, does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns? Is that it? Awesome.
Anybody have anything else? We had about 50 more people attend this year, which has been our largest group ever since we started this thing. You know, it was great. So it's good to get feedback from other departments, especially with, like, you know, the action reports. I think it needs to be changed.
Recommendations.
Hopefully I'll see it.
Because I can report on these numbers every single year, but really, you know, like we've been talking about, Sheriff Carbonelli mentioned that it really, you know, takes all of us to kind of engage in, you know, making sure that this is worth the price. And so if anybody has recommendations as to what you'd like to see us present outside of the law enforcement grant money and the accident reporting, please send an email to our unit and or Mike, because Mike and the Lewis County folks are the ones that create this meeting and keep it going. So
I got a lot of Nolan's coffee and cheese. If nobody else has anything, or you got something different for next year, you know, just let us know. You know, appreciate it. You know, somebody has come a long way, so we really appreciate everybody coming here. Thank you very much. No problem.